In today's video, I want to get this ultimate fast road C20XE Nova running. So since the last video, I've made a servo line. Now I've used a barb fitting off the throttle bodies. I've had to drill and tap it before the throttle body, not after it. So before the throttle body here. And I've used some braided silicone line connected to the original Nova hose. And I've also kept the original plastic valve just to stop any leakage of vacuum pressure. So I've neatened up this wiring here. I did say I wasn't going to do that until it was running, but I thought it's going to be okay. I don't need to worry. Also fitted the coolant header tank, which has been painted and filled it with coolant. Topped up gearbox with oil. Fitted the front bumper, as you can see. And I've painted the spark plug cover, which looks pretty good if I do say so myself. Which obviously is going to go here. Like that. However, I'm not going to screw it down yet because obviously it doesn't run. I want to make sure it's running bang on before that's put on. So that's going to be the last job. It does look nice though. And I've also put the dash back together and made the center console panel, which fits in here very nicely. Covered it in leatherette, and it's also got a handy little USB-C charger and a USB with a little volt gauge. So handy for road trips, which this car's going to be doing many of. Shifter works lovely, as you can see. And I've retorqued the wheels to 110 Newton meters and fitted center caps, and that's about it. We're about ready to fire it up. Now the engine bay is not completely finished. We've still got to fit the spark plug cover and the grille, but doesn't it look fantastic? I'm absolutely thrilled with it. It's come out really nice, and I love all the colours and all the contrast. I just think it looks absolutely stunning. So over the moon with this. Now I'm so proud of how this car's come out. That proud that I'm going to put my name on it. So I'm going to use one of these conversion plaques to mark it with a number. Now this is 008. This is the 8th car I've built, and it was finished March 2024. And this is going to go pride of place in the engine bay. It's going to stick on with some double-sided tape onto the bulkhead, just like so. And don't that look fantastic? So if you've been watching the series, you know I've been having a nightmare trying to get the vehicle running. Now it's running twin 45 Gen throttle bodies and a DTA ECU. Now the DTA ECU was meant to be supplied with a map, and I don't think it is. So that's my problem. QEB have now sent the base map over. And since the last video, I've had two really nice guys approach me and say, look, Dan, see you struggling. Do you want us to come over and give you a hand? So today we've got Tom coming from Yorkshire, all the way from Yorkshire, free of charge, bless him, to help us get this running. Now he should have a base map and also a slightly modified map for one of these engines with these throttle bodies and cams. So fingers crossed, we can get it all loaded up and get it working. Now we just need to wait for him to arrive. Right, so it's an hour or so later and Tom's on with putting the map on. We did have a few connection issues with the laptop, but that's now sorted. The first job is to install the base map, then move on to setting up the TPS. Now this should read about 200 millivolts with the throttle closed and around 4,900 millivolts with the throttle fully open. As you can see, we're getting readings all over the place. It should be a nice linear increase, but it's jumping around and reads up to 7.2 volts, where I thought it should be. So I try setting up the TPS, but it's not helping and something's clearly wrong. I remove it again and find it really notchy. Basically, the ECU thinks the throttle's at 100%, which obviously isn't because it's closed. So this is going to flood the engine and cause lots of overfueling. So we've got to abort it and get a new one ordered. I'm really gutted, but hey ho, let's hope we don't have any more issues. So it's been another week. The TPS has come and has been fitted. Tom is back, and we're hopefully going to get it running today. Fingers crossed. Right, so we're straight in. We're going to load it up and set the throttle position sensor to, I think it's 200 millivolts.
So the throttle's working now. Like it wasn't working before, was it?
Yeah. Is it reading right?
Yeah, it's still at 25%. That's probably why it won't start.
Yeah. Perfect. So the throttle is now working. TPS is set up. I'll tighten that up then. Right, so I'm just whipping the spark plugs out purely for the fact it has been flooding itself a little bit. So I want to take them out, dry the pistons the best I can, dry the plugs, maybe put some new ones in, give it the best opportunity to start. As you can probably see, that's absolutely dripping wet. Yeah, they're all absolutely drenched. So, hopefully, fresh set of plugs, and we should be away. Right, so these are brand new spark plugs, NGKR ones. We're gapping them to 1mm. That's what I've been advised to do. So, I don't have a 1mm feeler gauge, so I'm going to put two together, which makes it a millimetre. And as you can see, sorry, it's a bit blurred. That's a nice tight fit in there. Perfect. I carefully fit the spark plugs back into the engine, and Tom double checks the HT leads to make sure they're going to the right place from the core. Right, will it start? Right, so it's still not started. It's rather frustrating. We've checked everything again. All looks good. So now we're just going to check the compression. I mean, it should be okay, but we're going to check it. So as you can see, the compression gauges aren't really registering, which if I'm honest is really odd, as it does feel to have a bit of compression. And there's definitely pressure coming out of the exhaust. You can't really tell here, but I've already checked the cam belt time and it's spot on. And I've also checked the fuel pressure and removed the air filter so I can physically check the valves are actually opening and closing. This really isn't making any sense to me now. My head's telling me that the timing's off despite all the pulleys lining up. So I'm going to pull off the cam cover and have a look inside just to make sure everything is spot on under there. I've worked out the problem. A little bit of a schoolboy error, unfortunately. So both cams are pointing in the same direction, meaning that the valves are all opening at the same time. So exhaust and air goes in and goes straight out the exhaust. Oops. So basically what's happened, this cam sprocket, it's a vernier one, it looks like at some point it's been taken apart and it's been put back together 180 degrees out. So although the time marks are out okay on the outside, the inner dowel's in the wrong place. So yeah, stupid area. I should have noticed when I built it up. I didn't. Obviously, I was concentrating on getting this bit timed up. I didn't really consider this. Turned over nicely because it would do. But basically, yeah, the air and the fuel is going straight in and straight out the exhaust. And that, I am certain, is the reason why it won't start. So let's rectify that issue and make it start. So this is the original cam. And as you can see, the lobes should be opposite. So the way it is at the minute, these are pointing to the front, these should point to the back, not the front. So that's the problem. I'm kind of annoyed with myself, but it's a massive learning curve and I'm kind of glad that I've done it because I've learned from it in a way. I know that sounds stupid and hopefully you guys will learn from it and hopefully won't make the same mistakes I did. So I'm going to crack on now. Luckily for me, it was actually quite easy to rectify. I unbolted the 4 M6 vernier pulley bolts and managed to hold the pulley in place while turning the camshaft with a 24mm spanner. I retarded it exactly 180 degrees, then refitted the bolts to lock it off. I then turned the engine over a couple of times to check the timing. Everything was spot on, so it was just a case of fitting the spark plugs, removing the old gasket sealer using a blade and a wire brush, followed by a brake cleaner and a wet and dry vacuum. I refitted the cam cover using a new gasket, torqued down the M6 bolts, refit the hoses and the plug leads. So that's it, it's back together, but will it start? Now I do need to bridge the fuel pump relay. For some reason it's not working properly, so I'm going to look at that later. But for now I'm just going to bridge it, give it a crank, and if it starts I'm going to be a very, very happy boy. So that was the first start. I'm absolutely thrilled. Now I've been about 3 or 4 weeks trying to make this video, but we did get there in the end. Like I said, I did a bit of a stupid mistake. I won't do it again. I've learned from it. Hopefully you guys will, and hopefully you'll hit the subscribe button and show some support for the channel. It needs fine tuning on the rolling road, but I've basically done my job. I am absolutely over the moon. So if you haven't already, show support by liking the video and subscribing to the channel. And maybe in the next video with this, we might even drive it. Who knows? Stay tuned for more, guys. See you later. Bye-bye. Oh, that's fun.